What follows is for news and entertainment purposes only. Any use of the forthcoming information in violation of any federal, state, or local law is prohibited. Mike North, you are on fire.
You know anybody else that good?
No.
No, they'll tell you they are. They may think they are, but we're documented every single week. The eye is on us.
That's
and I ain't talking about the eye of CBS, the public eye. The first feeling I got when I won a bet was elation. The worst feeling was when I lost a bet and I wanted to jump off a balcony.
Give me a quick betting tip.
Yeah, do win and don't lose, but usually it doesn't always work out that way. How many times you heard this? I'm going to Vegas. I go, how'd you do? Well, if I lost $4,000, but you go there to have fun. No, you go there to win. And that's what's wrong with people. They have the negative mentality in anything they do, including sports, before they even laid the bet down. So you got to be positive. Vegas Scores and Odds is the landing place that gave me an opportunity to handicap. They let me show what I could do, and there's packages, there's free picks. What does Vegas Scores and Odds do when you perform? They reward you, and they take care of you, and that's why we're ready to do this show.
Vegas Scores and Odds presents the Mike North Advantage, and it begins right now. That's right, the Mike North Advantage starts right now. I am Aldo Gandia, Mike's wingman, and if it is Wednesday, that means it's VegasScoresandOdds.com presents the Mike North Advantage. We have lots to talk about. There's breaking news as we go on the air live here on Mixlr.com at 3 p.m. Central Time. About an hour or so ago, it was announced that the Cubs have sent down Addison Russell to the minors and activated Wilson Contreras. We'll get Mike's opinion on that and what is troubling these Chicago Cubs. We'll also get Mike's thoughts on the Chicago White Sox after a horrible 7-game losing streak. They've won 3 out of their last 5 games. We'll also get Mike's 3 free picks for tonight's action. Let's go to him now. Mike North, how are you, my friend?
What's up, Aldo, baby? Let me get this stuff of business out of the way, and then we can talk about everything from weddings to heat to baseball to football. We'll name it. We got it. And by the way, punch in this number right now, folks. I'm only 5 away from the coveted 200 over 500 mark. 195 games over 500. They believed in me at Vegas Scores and Odds, and we've got a great relationship. 1-800-808-3419 for a free pick and info for the premier handicapping site in the country at VegasScoresandOdds.com. Hey, when Early Win was going for 300, everybody paid attention. When Michael Jordan's going for 20,000 points, everybody pays attention. When I'm going for 200 over 500, well, really not many people are paying attention, but you do the best you can. Anyway, Anthony, Johnny Anthony, Dennis Macklin, Tony Sacco, Ray Monahan, yours truly and many more. Just check out the homepage at VegasScoresandOdds.com for a tote board. With me, right now, placing second all time with my picks. Yesterday, 1-1, but putting up the points, continuing to get it done. 1-1's better than 0-2, folks. So pick packages that range from daily to weekly to monthly. 1-800-808-3419. 1-800-808-3419 for the greatest. VegasScoresandOdds.com. Here he is, fresh from the wedding. How did the wedding go?
Mike, it was an outdoor wedding, and for the first 2 minutes, we were soaked. So we moved it inside, and it turned out to be one of the greatest nights of my life, and certainly the life of my 25-year-old daughter, who married a Chicago paramedic. This guy's got muscles on top of muscles, and if there's anyone that can protect my little girl, it is PJ Lasacco, who is the husband of my daughter, I almost got the wrong name wrong, of Kayla Evelise.
Well, you got kids all over the country, probably. You're a man of goodwill. We all know that. The young lady's name again, I don't want to start any trouble.
Kayla Evelise Lasacco is the new name, and she's very happy. In fact, they just landed in Aruba about 15 minutes ago for a 14-day honeymoon, so they're off to a great start.
Great, good for them. And by the way, it's always good. I mean, somebody messes with her. You got a guy that could beat the crap out of the guy, and then treat him afterwards as a paramedic to make him feel better.
That is so great thinking.
I'll beat your ass, but then later I'll patch you up, okay?
That is exactly right.
Let's get those charges. Let's move on.
That is exactly right.
I'm telling you, but they had all sorts of stuff going on. So you had the marriage, the wedding, by the way, new shows. We got some new shows. Why don't you go over the shows real quick? I saw my guy, Joey. He's all excited.
Yeah.
He's crazy. I tell everybody what we got coming up.
Absolutely.
On Bears Barroom. And, of course, Vegas Scores and Odds.
Yes. Shy Fans in the Stands debuted last night on the Bears Ballroom Radio Network, and you can catch it on the podcast. They interviewed Adam Johns. They had some other guests, and the premise of that show is Joe Mandel and Greg Braggs. They attend dozens and dozens sporting events, a lot of Bears stuff, Cubs stuff, Sox stuff, but also college, even high school events. And they're going to be sharing their experience on this podcast and talk to players. They're going to talk to media people, and they're going to talk to fans too. So they're going to share that on their podcast, Shy Fans in the Stands. That's one of many new shows that we've got, and we got a lot more coming up. And we're always grateful to our sponsors with VegasScoresandOdds.com leading the way. Very grateful for what they're allowing us to do here on the Bears Ballroom Radio Network with their sponsorship.
Yeah, we'll be back with another sponsor by the end of August when football starts. The football, I already checked it out, September 5th, ladies and gentlemen, for the first game, if you will. So everybody getting a little jacked up, everybody getting ready, but we got other things to talk about. We got other sports to talk about now.
Yes, Jesse Rogers of ESPN, your old pal and workmate, he broke the news that Addison Russell was being sent to AAA Iowa. I want to get your thoughts on that, and does this mean the end of Addison Russell's career with the Chicago Cubs?
First of all, I want to say this. He went through extenuating circumstances that I don't think were completely ever quelled, if you will, because they kept cropping up. So, you got to take personal responsibility in life. I think that it takes two to tango, but there's no doubt in my mind the one guy that was the culprit, and it seems to be, was Addison Russell. And you know what? When you have that kind of thing hanging over your head, then it makes it hard to play a game. Okay? I mean, a guy can go to work in the factory. A guy can work, a menial job. A guy could be a financial advisor, even a dentist, for God's sake. But for some reason, if you're playing a kid's game and you got an adult problem that's hanging over your head, it seems to rob you of something, a zest. It seems to rob you of your inner self-confidence because your stuff's out on the street. Look what it did to Tiger Woods. It took him a long, long time. So I think Addison Russell, good for him for going down to the minors. He was losing concentration on certain plays. I want to thank him for being available, and the Cubs, I think, made a good move early by not getting rid of him, because then we found Javi Baez getting hurt and Zobrist leaving the team, which I don't care what anybody says. If they would have gotten rid of Addison Russell, they wouldn't have had anybody viable for 2 months. I mean, they had to have a guy like him get the job done. Maybe, I think he's going to come back up down the line. I think he's recalled in September. I think the Cubs still like him. The problem I have with him is I don't think he's a second baseman. I think he's a shortstop, and that's never going to happen again. In light of what this happened. And also, he wasn't a good hitter, Aldo, far as 240, 230 in today's day and age.
Yep.
You know what? That's 1950. That's 1960 baseball. You got to be a 270, 275 hitter. And if you look at his average over the last 4 years, it never got close to that.
Yep. In fact, I'm reading here from MLBTradeRumors.com. He had never had a league average offensive season by measure of OPS and some of these other weird numbers that I don't understand.
But even batting average, like us old guys look at.
Right.
Even batting average, home runs. When the ball's flying out of the park, this guy hit 6 homers. You gotta, and then you're making mistakes in the field. You're playing a position that you prefer not to play, but you can't open your mouth because you put yourself in a problem to begin with.
Right.
So, I hope he comes back up in September. Who knows? But you know what? They can win without him, and I think Garcia's play, hitting about 256 right now, and the fact that he seems to be loose, he seems to get more experience, and I remember he made an error on his first play, and he's been pretty solid since then. I think that hastened the move. Plus, let's talk about the real problem, John Lester.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal, man.
Yeah.
Forget about Addison Russell. John Lester, was he having injury problems prior to this? Was his arm sore and he was pitching through it? Was something sore that he was pitching through it? Because he has not had a quality type of John Lester year.
Yeah, it is so true. So, Lester...
I cover it, don't I? You don't even have to do anything anymore. You're still rusty from the wedding.
That's right.
That's it.
I just coast here. I just...
No, you don't coast. Hey, all I got to say to everybody at the Bears bar room, 3 cheers to Aldo Gandia. Hip, hip, hooray.
Hey.
Hip, hip, hooray. Hip, hip, hooray. As Bears bar room continues to go with the addition of new shows and hard work.
Yeah, but thank you. But you're absolutely right about Lester. It was a huge shock also.
That's a huge loss.
Yeah.
Forget about Addison Russell. We don't need him.
Right.
We need Lester.
Right, absolutely. So I'm trying to find here what's the latest on Lester. Why was he scratched from the lineup? It's all it says is illness, so we don't know exactly what is going on.
Hangover. Maybe hungover.
He wasn't at the wedding, so I don't know why he would be hungover. Because everybody else
If he was at the wedding, he wouldn't be back at work yet.
Yeah, tell me about it. And so it's Tyler Chatwood taking his place. Now, Chatwood has a 4-1 record, but he's not real popular among Chicago Cubs fans because he just seems to do the wrong thing over and over again. But Tyler Chatwood is in there, and we are live here in the top of the second inning. The Cubs are nursing a 1-0 lead, and in fact, Chatwood is up to bat right now. So we'll see how he does offensively.
He doesn't know what the signs are. Man's looking at him like, are you out of your mind?
Just saw that.
Know what the bunt sign is, or know what you got to do. I think he's going to bunt. Like he had to go ask the coach at third, which takes away the element of surprise. Because you don't know really what he's going to do. Now maybe he decides you got Almora on first base, and we'll see what happens here. But they need a win. They're winning 1-0 right now as we are speaking. And out there in Las Vegas, it's 10 after 1, I believe. Here in Chicago, it's 10 after 3. And and in San Francisco, they just started. They're in the second inning right now.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and there's a line drive that just basically looks like it doubled them off. There's nothing they can do about it. But the Cubs lead 1-0. That's a good thing. They do need a win on the road. That's key. They got to start winning some games on the road too. Yeah,
the Cubs, as you just said, a line drive hit and Almora doubled off on the base pass. I'm not sure if that's the result of the poor base running we've seen from the Chicago Cubs or just bad luck.
It's a bad bunt. It's a bad bunt. It was a bunt that was caught in the air.
Gotcha.
So you're caught between a rock and a hard place. Plus the guy could have let the ball drop.
Right.
And you're going to get Chatwood then at second and maybe a double play.
Good point.
Which they got anyway, not the old-fashioned way, but by doubling them off.
Good point. Okay, so the Cubs are one of the teams that all of the pundits are talking about in terms of possible trades. And the Chicago, I think one of the Chicago newspapers reported that it's basically an open book. There are needs up and down this roster for these Chicago teams. They could use a lefty out of the bullpen. They could use a right-hander out of the bullpen. They can use an additional bat. What would you prefer to see Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer do in terms of acquisition for this club? And are you of the opinion that you've got to win now? So if you're going to sacrifice a player like the Cubs sacrificed Elo Jimenez for Quintana to make that push for a World Series ring, do you sacrifice a young, promising player to win now?
Yeah, absolutely. I love Quintana. I love their. I think the reason I think they're going to win it all is that they have the best quality starting pitching, and Quintana's one of them. In fact, Quintana, since the All-Star break, has been their best pitcher. I think that in his last 3 starts, he's been sensational for the most part. So I think it was a trade that was good for both teams, although the White Sox, that remains to be seen. That's everybody projecting. We don't know yet. Jimenez has been hurt a couple times in his early career, some by his own doing, some from just bad luck. But if I'm the Cubs, I'm looking for a utility infielder, somebody that might be able to play maybe short and second, because we saw what happened today. Unless they bring somebody up, I think if they're not going to go out, I think they feel they have enough. I think they feel they're better than Milwaukee. I think they feel they're better than St. Louis, but there's St. Louis as usual, knocking on the door. Wainwright going tonight. That's going to be a big ball game. as the Cardinals play the Pirates. The Pirates starting to fade a little bit. They've had a lousy second half. Josh Bell has been hitting an anemic. I think he's hitting 135 since the All-Star break, and he was the slice of Pittsburgh, Aldo, in the first half. So I still like the Cubs. If they're going to pick up somebody, I said pick up a bat, but more importantly, maybe pick up a utility infielder. As far as the White Sox are concerned, maybe build a chapel. Build a chapel on 35th and Shields where people can go and pray, have a Virgin Mary set up there, have all of the religions, because now you can't. If you put one up, then that's not good enough.
That's
so
right.
have all 355 worldwide religions there, and stuff like that, where people can just pray to God that something good's going to happen. And let me remind everybody, Aldo Gandia is one of the sharpest guys I know. We're buddies. And here's the thing I like: he likes to do spin like I do, like anybody can.
Yes.
Did you hear what he said about the White Sox earlier, folks? Everybody at the bar room, just pick up the phone, just dial us up.
Dial us up.
Did you hear what he said? The White Sox have won 3 out of 5. Like they won 10 out of 11. They're 3-2. I understand. They're above 500. But the 3 out of 5, doesn't it make it sound like it's grandiose? Like they're on fire. But basically they're one game above 500.
Yes.
You remember saying that about 8 minutes ago?
Yeah, I remember that. Good catch.
That was beautiful. But you know what? Any good news is good news for you. Because
you got that right.
You want that 500. You need that 500. And you know what? A big thing tonight, I'm going to tell everybody this right now.
Okay.
I want everybody to stay tuned. I may have something on the White Sox game, except for the fact that the White Sox, listen, I happen to think that the White Sox are a team that is going to have a bad second half because I think their pitching is going to give out. I love Giolito. I think Lopez has shown improvement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can he put another game together? We'll find out. Moncada, you know what? I didn't like the trade, but if he plays third base like this, and he's hitting the cleanup position now for the most part, and he's been able to handle that, so I'm encouraged. I'm never going to bum rap a guy to try to make myself look right. That's never going to happen. So I'm going to say Moncada gives me hope out of all of them. And he was the guy that gave me no hope last year.
Right. Yeah, I remember at the beginning of the season.
Isn't he better than last year?
Yes.
We didn't. Let's be honest. We were waiting for the other guys, but you know what?
Right.
He's put together a good season. I'm not going to dog the guy.
Right. He's a young player, and he's learning how to play in the majors. He said last year was kind of overwhelming for him, but he's come in, and he's really shown a great promise. He's part of the nucleus of this young White Sox team. I'm really proud of him. Hey, before we completely talk White Sox exclusively, I wanted to bring up the name of Eric Sogard. He is that second baseman, shortstop, and third baseman who's a left-handed bat who the Cubs are said to be on the verge of perhaps making a deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. He is batting .300. He's got 10 home runs. This guy could be that replacement for Ben Zobrist, who you have all season long said we don't realize really what the loss of Zobrist has meant to this team, and I'm with you now on that. And a guy like Sogard could potentially come in here and be the remedy for the loss of Zobrist.
Well, see, this is where my wagering comes into play, because I watch all the games. There'll be nights I got Toronto, and quite frankly, I am scared to death. And then there are other nights I'll have Tampa Bay. The other nights I'll have Minnesota. So I see it all.
Sure.
Eric Sogard's hit 10 home runs. I don't think, and maybe you could check, Aldo.
Sure.
I don't think he ever hit more than 8 in a single year. This is Pappy going off the top of his head.
Right.
Okay?
I will.
And you check that out, because he's having a good year.
3 is the
To
highest.
Me,
Yeah, 3 is the highest.
He's a short-term guy.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right.
What do you got for him?
You're absolutely right, Mike. 3 home runs is the highest he's ever had. He's also ready to approach a career high in RBIs. He's got 30 now. He had 37 in 2015. So, yeah, he's having the best season of his career. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I like the Cubs going out to get him. He's been playing second base because they got Freddie Galvis over at shortstop for Toronto. It's like you're talking to the commissioner of baseball, isn't it? Anyway, only I'm sharp. I don't need the play. I don't need a scorecard. All I'm going to tell you is that he's having a good year, and he'd be a hell of a pickup for them. And he plays in the American League, which is a pretty tough league, and he's held his own. It's an AstroTurf. No, I don't know if it's an AstroTurf field, I believe, in Toronto, which helps a little bit, but he's had a great year.
Yep, he certainly has. Now, okay, let's turn our full attention over to the White Sox. My favorite team in Chicago, my favorite baseball team in Chicago, they are, as you said, they
won 3 out of 5.
They won 3 out of 5. One game over 500 after a terrible 7-game losing streak. Now, yesterday they were almost no hit on the anniversary of Mark Burley's perfect game. They were almost victims of that yesterday. But my hope is that they're going to bounce back and add some road wins here. What are your thoughts on the White Sox right now?
You know, I want them to do good. We've talked about it. Tonight, they're playing at 7 o'clock. They're playing the Marlin. The Marlin... See me do my Harry? Not pronouncing the S again.
I love it.
The Marlin are 37 and 62. Derek Jeter, you're horrible. Okay? The White Sox are 45 and 53. They're an American League team. I like Lopez tonight going against Zach Gallen. I wouldn't do nothing on the game, but Lopez, he's got to keep this train rolling because he's 5 and 8, but he's got to start putting a couple wins together. You can't go 1 game good, 4 games bad. 1 game good, 2 games bad. His ERA still a hefty 5.76. That's inexcusable if you're going to be a major league pitcher for a long period of time, unless you're in a rebuilding, which they are rebuilding year 9, where you got time. But you know what? You want to see improvement. And he was walking the plank recently, and then he put together a good game. I think he's on notice. I think he smelt the minor leagues earlier this season. I think he was 1 game away. He saved his ass. He might have to keep doing that.
Yep, I agree with that. Now, lots
so
of...
far we're on the same page. This isn't going to work.
Yeah. Okay, let's see if we agree or disagree.
It's fine. We need a rest.
Yes, exactly. We don't need to debate all the time.
By the way, can I just say,
please,
from the bottom of my heart, I don't care how they try to play it. I don't care how they try to run with it. I don't care how they try to script it. James Bond 007 will always in my world be a man with an undercarriage, period. Because now did you hear what happened?
No, what happened now?
They're going to make Thor a woman now.
Get out, really?
Yes.
Well, he had long hair.
Do you think the great Ian Fleming, when he wrote them 15 different Bond books, ever envisioned this nonsense? No. Leave it alone. I don't want to see Supergirl as a Superman. I don't want to see Superman as a Supergirl. And leave Crypto alone. You mess with Crypto, you answer to the bar rule.
Okay, great.
The next thing you know, Crypto's going to have little pink booties on. He's Crypto.
That's hilarious.
One of the most underrated dogs in all of the comic kingdom.
I hear you. Crypto should get his own movie. You know?
Listen, when they had the Superman cartoon series, Crypto was on. It was great.
It was great.
And when, I want more time for Crypto. Crypto's the underrated Fonzie. You know what? He has a little flavor.
He did. Now we've had movies about dogs that can play basketball, who can play baseball. Why not have Crypto have his own movie where he's saving lives with the special effects nowadays? It could be a tremendous movie. We got the idea here.
We love Lassie. We love Rin Tin Tin.
Oh yeah.
We love them all.
Yes.
I mean, Old Yeller. I still place in my heart. Crypto, one of the greats. Underrated.
I'm glad.
Underrated.
I'm glad.
Carried the franchise. And when he was on the comic books when I was a kid, when Crypto was there, we liked it.
Oh, yes. Me too. I loved it. I loved it.
And then somebody in the bar was going, yeah, how was it living in 1962? I don't need that.
Well, everyone in the bar room right now, chat, wants to know your opinion on the possibility of the Chicago White Sox trading Jose Abreu, who has a stellar stat line, 22 home runs, a slugging percentage of .499. There are teams like the Red Sox, according to Phil Rogers, our old buddy Phil Rogers, that have been linked to Abreu in the past, and it appears that those trade rumors with the Red Sox have resurfaced. Also, the Tampa Bay Rays are in the market for a right-handed bat. Do you think that Jose Abreu will be a Chicago White Sox this time next week after 3 p.m. Central when the trade deadline expires?
Isn't it great to be Boston? We're going to give 3-4 guys to get Chris Sale. We're going to give maybe 3-4 guys to get Abreu. You know, we don't care about 5 years from now. We need to win every year to fill that stadium.
Yeah.
And to make the Boston Red Sox a great franchise. So what we're going to do is we'll trade maybe our potential future stars and maybe the White Sox, which is a brutal franchise, right now 27th in local TV, even though they went up 41% so far this year. Okay, but let me put everything in perspective. Because Aldo worked TV. So did I. But I know Aldo's got more experience. Let me ask you, even though I won Emmys and everything else, we know one thing. When you go up 41%, that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. When you say from where, that's where the rub comes in, because their ratings were rock bottom.
Yes.
So, in other words, if you live in a 20-story building and the elevator works, and you live on the 20, and the other elevator doesn't work, and you live on the 20th floor, if you walk up 41 stairs, you're on the second floor. Okay?
Yep.
And that's where the White Sox are with that nonsense. I'm glad they're going up, but they're still 27th among local broadcasts in all the major leagues, and that's a shame.
Yeah, that is a shame. And if you trade a guy like Jose Abreu, it's not going to help. It's not going to help.
No. And they're even talking about Giolito was mentioned.
Really? I didn't know that.
It's almost like he was mentioned this last week. You know, it probably was nonsense. Mm-hmm. But to me, you got to start keeping some of these guys unless you don't believe.
Exactly.
Unless you don't believe. Because when they still want to make trades and get 3-4 guys, it's nice to stockpile minor leaguers if you're Boston. But really, if the Sox are going to trade Abreu for 3-4 guys, that means they really believe they're not close to being ready.
Yep.
Doesn't it mean that to you? If the restaurant's ready to open, but you know, and all you need is the stools, okay, then you make a trade or two. But if the restaurant's not ready to open, and the refrigeration hasn't even been put in yet, that's what I think we have with the White Sox. I really do.
Interesting.
I think they thought the restaurant would be open by next year, 2020.
Right.
Or would they be on the Cubs road? Because, folks, believe me, the Cubs built from 2013 to 14, 15, 16. That's 4 years. The Sox started this 2017. But in 2000, so they exploded. Are the White Sox going to explode like the Cubs? Maybe, maybe not.
Right. Well, and here's another thing. Reinsdorf is notoriously tight-fisted with the money and the contracts. He's got some young players who, if they pan out, and all indications are like guys like Eloy Jimenez and Yohan Moncada are going to pan out, those guys are going to demand huge bucks. And so you want to accelerate the timeline for success as quickly as possible, because those guys might price their way out of Chicago because of the tight budget that the Chicago White Sox organization usually operates out of. Is that viable?
I'll tell you straight up. You bring up a good point, because when was the last time they spent a ton of money?
It's been a while. Yeah.
Adam Dunn?
That's right.
That's who they spent it on.
That's a lot.
$44 million, remember?
Yes.
I mean, there's other guys I'm sure I'm missing, but they haven't spent money on people in 10 years.
That's been
so
a
if
while.
they have to spend money, I don't feel sorry for them, number one. Number two, the stadium, the situation, they're still not playing in front of big crowds.
No.
They basically have that deal, that tax relief deal. If they only draw a certain amount of fans, I've opened up but it will never happen because Jerry Reinsdorf is so wired in with the state and city leaders. My thing was you get no tax cuts. You have to have a 500 team or better. Then you'd see the White Sox try to improve. When you put attendance numbers in, the team could suppress those.
Yep.
And they basically could say, we don't give a damn about drawing 18,000 or 19,000 because we get tax relief or we get rental relief, and that's what they get.
Mike, you are so correct about that. I'll give you a quick example of that.
Nobody talks about it
Right.
because they feel it's complicated. It's not complicated, Al.
Exactly. It's not at all complicated, but you're absolutely right. They don't talk about it. And a lot of the Chicago media people, what they do is they just recite the party line that the Chicago sports organizations put out there. There isn't any real investigative reporting. I'll give you a quick example. The Chicago Blackhawks, for years, everybody was saying, oh, they're not making any money. These Stanley Cup championships are costing them a lot. That's why it's okay for them to raise tickets as so high. Well, guess what? This was all an accounting trick by the Chicago Blackhawks organization, Rocky Wirtz, because they were giving sweetheart deals to Comcast and to the beverage company because it was partially owned by Wirtz. And so they're getting these sweetheart deals, whereas they would have gone to an organization outside of the Wirtz family. They would have gotten more dollars for the booze that they were selling at the United Center and so forth. So there's a lot of trickery that goes on here, and so I wouldn't hold it past Jerry Reinsdorf to say, hey, we will make more money with the tax breaks if we hold off on winning for a while. You're absolutely right.
It's happened. They don't even paint the line. The last time I went out there, I mean, they run you around in the parking lot. They discourage people almost.
Yeah.
And you know, if the clause was you have to win 81 games or more, they'd spend more money.
Yep, I hear you.
Because then you'll get your break. But this crap, if you draw, just read up the White Sox deal, folks. If you don't draw a certain amount, well, you get the rent, or you get a tax break or rent free, something to that effect. It's the Chicago Stadium Authority.
Yep.
It's a political arm. That's it. They don't own the stadium, but yet Reinsdorf will, if there's going to be gambling, for some reason it's going to be because he's the operator. He only operates that place 6 months out of the year, man.
That is so true. That is so true. And
why would he get gambling for the whole year? Because their offices are there year round.
Right.
But they don't, people don't go there all year round.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how that would work. It's just, but he's so wired. Listen, when I walked into Gibson's and I saw Jerry, we had a retirement party. BB threw me a retirement party. We had John Shaky Suntress. We had Dave Kerner. We had Jesse Rogers. We had Ron Gleason. I took all the background guys that helped me. Okay?
Nice.
I didn't invite any hosts, nothing. I said I want 10 people. Linda Gleason, who discovered me by listening to a tape that Ron was listening to. She said, he's your guy. I never forgot that. I invited 10 people. I know I'm missing some. Fred Hubner. I know I'm missing somebody. George Hoffman. I know I'll miss somebody, and I apologize, but I love you all. But here's the deal. Reinsdorf walks up to me. I didn't see him. He goes, Mike. He goes, I can't get rid of you. He was sort of half joking, Aldo, and sort of half serious, okay? But we took a picture. And then he goes, you want to stick around? And I go, for what? He goes, my friend Chuck Schumer's coming to have dinner with me. I go, that's okay. I said, we got to get back to the table. But then Chuck Schumer walked in. Flew in from New York to have, was in the area because him and Reinsdorf have been buddies since they were kids.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I could have stayed there.
Yeah.
And I would have, I could have taken a picture with them, but, I said, no, thanks. I got to get back to the party, and I'm not a big fan.
Right.
To be honest. So I walked away, but I knew that's a man that's wired.
Oh, yes. You better
Gary's
believe
wired, and he knows it, and here's more importantly, I know it.
Mm-hmm. I love it, Mike.
That's it. And you know what? I I love the guy for a lot of reasons, and I can't stand the guy for a lot of reasons. That's the way it goes. That's what friends are for.
Yes, and I love the way you put that. That's a line for the autobiography. I think that chapter when we talk about Jerry Reinsdorf, that might be the opening line right there.
He embraced me because he couldn't get rid of me. He didn't embrace Mariotti. He didn't embrace Bayless. He didn't embrace anybody else. We embraced each other. I used him. He used me. Okay? And that's fine. It worked out great. And when I see him, we're cordial. We sit down. We took a picture. It's on. I could put it up on Twitter tonight. We took a picture that night at Gibson's. We have respect for each other. Look, when the guy tells me that I reminded him of his dad was a hustler, I guess. That's a pretty nice thing to say.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
I really, and he's got a picture of me in his suite.
How about
being
that?
Him on the field. I went up there one night. Now, maybe he had somebody put it up that night. But I went to see him, and there it was. And it's right behind his chair. Now, so you figure it out.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, it is now.
I'm weeping now. I'm ready to tear up, and I'm ready to send him flowers. No, you know what? He knows I get pissed. He knows I'm a White Sox fan. And he knows he's pulled some shenanigans.
Yeah. Kevin in the chat.
And he knows I pulled some shenanigans. So that's the way.
Oh, yeah. Kevin in the chat room reminds us that the Sox ownership does have rabbit ears. They could be listening in right now, right?
Oh, my God. I hope they are. Brooks Boyer and all those guys, they know me. I know them. Yep. That's the key.
That is the key.
They know me. I know them.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? As much regard they have for me, which may be none or may be a lot, I hold the same amount of regard that they have for me for them.
There you go.
Period.
Right. And I know this, that if you're going to get betting advice from anyone, you got to take it from Mike North, and that's why we are playing the music.
I don't know. The White Sox might be listening. Like they didn't listen for the first 30 years?
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, VegasScoresAndOdds.com presents this portion and entire show of the Mike North Advantage. Mike, take it away.
All right, my friend. 1-800-808-3419. Go see them all. Just go to the front page. Go to my Twitter handle. That's what you do. Go to North to North. And don't forget Bears Bar Room. Follow us there. We got like 8,300 now. We're rolling. And then I got on the top of my profile, Bears Bar Room, Vegas Scores and Odds, ESPN 1000. Now, if you go to Bears Bar Room, I am the number one guy right now, 8-3 for the last 7 days. MLB 18-11 the last 30 days. John Anthony's right behind me. Bryce Bell in the Vegas pipeline. We got a lot of great handicappers there, so check it out. Check out the front page. Follow us. We got up to, I think we're up to 525, 530 in followers. We really love Vegas Scores and Odds. Eldo's done a great job with the graphics. 1-800-808-3419 and follow them at VSAO. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, moms and dad, hey, there's a home run, by the way. You're hearing it live.
Nice.
And a man that I took in my hit league lineup today, Chris Bryant, has just planted a 2-run job in the top of the third. Ooh. All right, there's one out, and the Cubs lead by a score of 3-0, Aldo, top of the third.
Nice.
Great response. I'm going to go run into a wall now, okay? Okay, here we go. All right, are you ready, my friend?
I am totally ready.
You're going, for God's sake, please help me. I asked him for a pick 10 minutes ago. I mean, this is like the hearings today. I can't recall. I don't remember. I don't know what day it is. And is my hair still gray? Here we go. All I'm going to say about the hearings today is, if anybody in America, red, blue, or independent, would want that guy investigating them, tell me now. Oh, my God.
He had a rough day. There's no doubt about it.
You know what? I watched that. I felt like I was 25 again. And Joe Biden, I know, feels like he's 50. 55 again. Remember when he was Sleepy Joe?
Yes, I remember that.
Not anymore. Today was terrifying for everybody. That's all I'm going to say.
I got to say this real quick. On Saturday Night Live, Robert De Niro played the special prosecutor Mueller. I bet you Robert De Niro right now is thinking, I should have never played this guy.
You know what? There's only been a few instances in life since I've been following sports and politics, and three people that come to my mind now, will always come to my mind, that I saw end their careers, okay? One was Gale Sayers.
Right.
Okay, who in that Buddy Field ended his career.
Right.
The other one was the white Bronco heading down the expressway. That career was over.
Oh, yeah.
OJ. And today, we saw a man go from a 98-mile-an-hour fastball to a guy to Max Patkin, the guy that used to count the coach. That's all I'm going to say. So can we move on now?
Let's move on.
Okay. Oh, let me just say one more thing.
Okay.
When Michael Moore is blasting you on social media, it's over.
Yes, it's totally over.
It's over. Okay, here we go, my friend. Are you ready?
I am ready.
But me and you just laugh about this crap because we can't even believe it anymore.
That's it.
Okay. The whole thing, it's so bizarre. Cardinals Pirates.
Cardinals
This is
Pirates.
bizarre. I went 2-1 last week.
Okay.
I went 2-1. You enjoyed that, but we should probably do a show like that.
Oh,
someday.
we have to one day. At least a couple of special episodes. see
2-1.
See if we can survive.
Last week on the bar room, and then I go crap the bed on Odds Couple and go 0-2 because it's a different day. It's baseball. It's like baseball. Cubs go on a 2-game winning streak, then they go on a 3-game losing streak. White Sox, it's no different. White Sox hot in the first half. They can't get out of their own way in the second half. Well, I bounced back at Barroom. Now Friday I got to bounce back at Odds Couple. But I'll tell you what, Vegas Scores and Odds, I've been on fire. And with the Barroom going 2-1, the first game I got is a 6:05 game tonight Central, 4:05 I believe in Las Vegas, or maybe 3:05. I forget. Is it 2 hours behind? I can't even remember. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Pirates minus 105 against the Cardinals. The over-under is 9.5. Take the under tonight. Wainwright and Lyles both have ERAs with the live ball. They both match about 4.6 something. So that's about a 9-point add up. If you look at them, I see it's 8.5. It hasn't risen. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm looking for a 4-2. So say the Cardinals under 9.5.
Excellent.
Is the music on?
The music is on. I can pump it up if you'd like.
Pump it up a little bit. There it is.
There it is.
Okay, shut it off. That's enough. Anyway, that's what we got. We're the Abbott and Costello podcast, folks. I didn't know if you knew that. We won't discuss who's who. I think we trade off. Anyway, then we have the Padres versus the Mets. Now, this looks like an under game tonight. You got Syndergaard versus Lamet, and it's an 8.5. I'm going to go the under again, even though I sort of feel it's going to go over. The system gave me the under. So Cardinals under, and, of course, the Padres under. Just check Vegas Scores and Odds before the game if you want to bet it. Say, this is what I wanted to do, and then call your local bookmaker or overseas distributor or wherever the hell you go to legalize bet now in a lot of states. And last but not least, because we always promise 3 on the Vegas Scores and Odds, extravaganza, the Mike North advantage. We have a Yankee game tonight, ladies and gentlemen, playing a really good Minnesota Twins team. 61-39 for the Twins, 65-35 for the Yankees. The Yankees are minus 116. Jay Happ going tonight against Odorizzi. Odorizzi's been good. Twins started out being favored. I'm taking the Yankees minus the 116 tonight. Cardinals under, Padres under, and the Yankees. Aldo, back to you.
Boy, oh boy, I love those picks, but I better not say that because every time I say I like your picks,
you can say it.
You get unlucky.
Like 18, you said it every week. I went 18-1-1. Maybe you should say it twice a show.
That's right.
That's it.
There you go. I love those
By
picks.
the way, now that you're in debt up to your ass about the wedding and everything else, it's time for you to jump on.
You ain't kidding, man. Am I ever in debt?
The worst thing that could happen, my dad looked at me like I killed somebody when he got the bill. I go, wait a minute, I'm paying paying for most of it. He told the band, stick around another hour. He was hammered. He goes, stick around. The guy goes, we're only going till like 12:30. It was at the Como Inn. And this is back in 1977. 1977, the band was Pot Roast, okay?
Oh, wow.
And it was a 5-piece band in the chandelier room at the Como Inn on Milwaukee and Erie, which is no longer there, which is a shame. That being said, my dad goes, hey, he thought he was John Wayne. Play, And the guy goes, hey, we're done. He goes, I got 100. They played. Thank you. They played another hour. $100 back in 1977 was like $1,000
yes,
right now.
Absolutely.
Oh my God! Are you kidding me? We want to thank Mr. North. My dad didn't even know what day it was. It was great.
Yeah, that Como Inn was a great place. I remember it well. What great food! It
was a wonderful place.
Oh,
and my sisters. Her sister Grace, everybody had it at the Como Inn. Mm-hmm. It was a beautiful, it was a destination for everybody. Back when Chicago had restaurants like Town and Country on Ridge Avenue and Peterson, Como Inn, but out there on Milwaukee and Erie. But you know what? There weren't a whole lot of restaurants in the 60s and 70s. I was watching a movie with Sterling Hayden and Betty Davis. They end up in Chicago. She goes, we have to go to Chicago. All they have is the Blackstone. And that's how Chicago, the Blackstone was a big hotel back then.
Yeah.
And they had good restaurants. But this was made in 1953 or 54. Mm-hmm. Chicago was not a hopping town. It really wasn't.
You got me. I was waiting.
Speaking of that, I watched The Lone Ranger again the other night with Johnny Depp. Just get me some rope. My God.
I was going to ask you, how is that movie? I've never seen that movie. Is it worth watching, or is this...
Johnny Depp mailed it in because basically all he did was yes, no.
That's right, he played
Tonto.
Tonto.
Go here. There was only one Tonto. His name was Jay Silver. Let's move on.
The great Jay Silver. All right, let's talk.
And, of course, Clayton Moore went to Senn High School and Haight Grammar School.
I didn't know that. I did not know that. The original TV Lone Ranger went to Senn High School.
Clayton Moore goes like this. Harold Ramis, Senn. Harvey Korman, Senn.
Wow.
Clayton Moore, Senn. Lee Stern.
Wow.
Senn. And then there's a real drop. And then I'm down there over here. They have a picture of all four in their gowns, and they got me running out the door.
All right, let's turn our attention
an entertaining show today.
Always. Don't we always have an entertaining show?
We do say so ourselves.
That's right.
Right.
Turning our
and
attention
this will be on podcast, a half an hour afterwards?
In about 30 minutes, this baby will be up, and we'll be letting everybody know. You should be following us on Twitter, at Bears Barroom, at North to North. That's the number 2. And, of course, at Vegas Scores and Odds. That is at VSAO Sports, at Vegas Scores and Odds. Make sure you follow all of us for all the latest, for all the sports
coming
news.
up, and it could come up at a better time. I think this is the last. I think everybody's reporting to training camp next week, right?
That is right. And I'm spending the weekend out at Bourbonnais. So if you're a Bears fan, be following that Bears Barroom Twitter account, because I'll be having video and interviews, all that stuff up over the weekend.
I got great memories of Bourbonnais.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. We were doing the show, and I'm smoking a cigar, and somebody walks up to me, and they go, you got to put the cigar out. I go, excuse me? I mean, it's during commercial. He goes, you got to put the cigar shut. You can't smoke on campus. Or back then you couldn't,
right.
And I don't think you can now. It's a religious place.
That's right.
Plus beer, plus the bars. And I want to say hi to everybody at the bars that I made friends with all those years. Captain Ships and Sailors. We played that game. I think it was at Dolan's, and they had some other places there. It was a great time out there. It's a good time if you've never been there. Just get the schedule, know what's going on. Some radio stations, AM 1000 will be out there, and the rest of the stations, so have a good time.
Yeah, I'll make sure to stop by.
And the bar room's going to be out there,
That's
and
right.
Elmo's going to be sending back some of his tweets.
That's right, and I'll make sure to stop by ESPN's booth and say hi to the guys.
Absolutely.
Before we talk about the Bears, I want to tackle this subject regarding Tyreek Hill. Andy Reid has welcomed him back to the team, and this is after the NFL has decided not to discipline him him for the alleged assault of his son. This is what Andy Reid said.
I've had a chance to talk to him. I've on the phone, in person. Spent quite a bit of time with him, actually. And, he's remorseful that he's had to go put all of us through what we went through, and he had to go through. I mean, I feel, that's a sensitive situation. And he wants to get back, and he wants to do what he needs to do to be a father and to be a player.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, my God, is that a horrible representation? Stuttering, Cameron, come on, do you agree?
I totally agree with you. I wanted to play that for you to just illustrate what a difficult time the Kansas City Chiefs are having explaining the fact that this guy is back in camp. Now, you may agree or disagree with the NFL's decision, but this is a very delicate situation, and Andy Reid just illustrated it there with his hemming and hawing.
It was very tough for him. And by the way, Andy Reid is a football man.
Yes.
And when I say a football man, football comes first. I'm going to ask Eldo to look up Andy Reid because it's not that you have dirt on Andy Reid. Mm-hmm. It's that Andy Reid's had so many difficulties with his family.
His son died, yeah.
And I believe his sons had a heroin den in their home.
Right.
But he wasn't there. So I think a lot of these guys, you never hear about the issues they have. I like Andy Reid as a guy. He seems like a decent coach. He's never gotten over the hump. But he's never been a guy that was embraceable, even by the media.
Yep.
I've never been a guy that seemed comfortable in his own skin. In fact, seems like a guy that can't believe he's where he's at.
You're right.
But, Eldo, if you see something there, I'm trying to go by memory, but I think he had a bad family situation because of football. That doesn't excuse what this kid did.
Right.
Right. I don't think they had enough, and I think maybe charges were dropped. I don't have a whole lot of information. We only go by what we go by.
Right. I got some info for you here regarding his son. This was an accidental heroin overdose that killed.
There's no such thing.
Yeah, really. I kind of agree with you.
If I do heroin now and I die, my reputation forever. Well, I can't go any lower, but I'm just saying, it's even worse.
Yes.
An accidental overdose? Who put the needle in your arm?
Right. Garrett Reid was a recovering drug addict, and by all accounts, he was turning his life around, but the 29-year-old.
He died at training camp because they brought him with.
Right.
I remember the whole story. I was on the air.
Yeah.
I go, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. But he had issues at home. Reid wasn't around all the time. He was coaching.
Exactly.
It was you're going. Look. A coach's life, if you work your way up, is like 9 stops. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you got to make a living for your family, and things get lost.
Yep.
And that's what happened. So it's uncomfortable for him to talk about another situation when he had a more devastating one.
Absolutely correct. And the situation with Tyreek Hill stems all the way really back from 2014 when Hill pleaded guilty to physically abusing his girlfriend. And he had a child with this woman. And now the allegation by this woman, and there are some tape recordings that sort of might, in the eyes of some, prove that this guy, Tyreek Hill, did break the arm of his son. It's inconclusive, but the NFL said they are.
Which I believe he did too.
Yeah.
But what is there not enough proof? And how much cooperation? Mm-hmm. I mean, seriously, is the girlfriend? What's the girlfriend's role in this? I mean, is she still pursuing this? Is she upset?
Yeah, we don't have all that information yet, but what we do know is that this is not a good look for the NFL and not a good look for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's pretty bad.
But listen, remember, Ben Roethlisberger's been through this. We've had Josh Gordon issues. We've had issues every single Ray Caruth. It's news, and then it goes away eventually. You know what? If the Chiefs are 3-0 and he's winning and he's gaining yards, it's over.
Yep.
It'll be over, don't you think?
I totally agree. Greg Cody, who works at ESPN on the Dan Le Batard show, said essentially the same thing in an article for the Miami Herald.
Dan Le Batard's in more trouble than Dan Cody.
That's right. Everybody's in trouble nowadays.
We're all in trouble.
That's so true.
I'm just saying. And I like your show a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
They do. You know what? When we started our show, it was me, Jigs, and a producer running the board, and a phone screener. These guys got 20 guys.
Yeah.
I watched their show.
That.
They got like 15 people.
Why?
They got the control room's got 7 guys there.
I don't understand it.
It's unbelievable. But that's how you can do a good show when you got that much help. And he does a good job. Him and that other guy, Stugatz.
Yeah, Stugatz is excellent. But I keep watching that show and I get claustrophobia because there's 10 guys in a tiny room and it's all.
They got a basketball team in the joint.
That's right.
But they are good. To me, one of the better shows.
Yeah, it really is. I would agree with you. Okay, let's turn our attention to the Chicago Bears. I'm going to borrow a little device here from the Chicago Tribune. They ask a bunch of questions, and they've asked the guys that cover the Chicago Bears to fill in the blank. And so I'm going to play the same game with you. The first one is the realistic expectation for the 2019 Bears is blank. You fill it in and tell me why.
Super Bowl, because they made the playoffs, and that's everybody's goal. And if you come into camp and you're a playoff team and you have the year you had, you want to improve. And if your goal is not the Super Bowl, you should not be playing the game.
I love that response, and I will say that all 3 Chicago Tribune writers, they had lower expectations. They said...
Of course they did, because they're newspaper writers.
You got that right.
I'm just kidding. Who are they?
Brad Biggs, Rich Campbell, and Dan Wiederer, all 3 of them...
All good guys.
All good guys. Yes.
What did they think? Yeah, but wasn't the answer... For the Bears' what was my expectation?
Yes. What is a realistic expectation for this?
Oh, I thought you said they asked Bear players what their expectations were.
No.
Okay, my expectation?
Yes.
Playoffs.
Okay, yeah, and that's essentially...
So I agree with the guy. The guys probably said the same thing, right?
To defend the NFC North title. That's essentially what they said. So
I'm with all 3 of them on that.
All right, so let's go to number 2. If the
These
Bears...
damn newspaper writers think alike. This is a problem.
That is true.
Okay.
Well, they eat together, drink together, work together. That's part of the issue there.
Yeah.
All right.
Together.
Number 2, if the Bears fall short of expectations in 2019, it will be because blank. That's a tough one.
Their defense will not have as good a year.
I love that response. I totally agree. Now, let me tell you what Brad Biggs said. He said any number of factors, and of course, well...
Yeah, but you asked for one thing, right?
Exactly. So I don't know why he answered that way.
Because Biggsy likes a bigger menu.
He's got a great appetite, and he's a lover of cigars, too.
If you tell Biggsy he can only have one thing, there's a problem.
That's right. Rich Campbell said their injury luck turned sour, which is, of course, that applies to every team. One. Yes. And Dan Wiederer said that Trubisky doesn't make a big enough jump in his 3rd season. Now, I disagree with that. What are your thoughts on Dan Wiederer saying?
Trubisky could play like he did last season. They could still get to the playoffs.
Totally agree.
So I disagree with him. Here's what I would have said for my number 2 pick. I'll help Phil. I'll help him out. Okay?
Good.
Place kicker.
Aha.
So defense 1 for me, place kicker 2. It's a big joke right now.
It is.
It ain't going to be a joke in September. If a ball hits the uprights again. And you know what I'm saying? So hopefully, because I heard the unencouraging news, they're hoping one of these 2 guys come out of the pack.
Right.
And they're still looking at the waiver wire.
Correct.
That doesn't sound like a team that's hell-bent on going to the Super Bowl.
Well, it's a tricky situation because unlike all the other positions on a football team, you can find a kicker. Sometimes teams have been successful finding a kicker out of the scrap heap.
You're right.
And Robbie Gould was an undrafted free agent, if I recall correctly, and he's gone on to be...
Best kicker, one of the top 3 most accurate kickers in NFL history.
Exactly. Well, and that all gets back down to the biggest mistake the Bears have done in recent years.
I'm ready to throw up in my mouth. Let's move on.
All right, number 3 in my final.
And then he said, take me out to the ball game the other day like he signed with the Bears.
Yes, how about that?
And what's with my guy Nagy saying, buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks? It's peanuts. Did you hear about that?
Yes, I did. I should have had that cut ready.
You got to have that cut. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. Who wouldn't want to buy some?
Not me. I don't want to buy any peanuts. You know what's funny? I'm listening to the Chicago sports radio stations, and they're only allowed to play that clip a certain amount of times. The censors at these organizations, have put kind of the kibosh about using that.
That's just bad. But you're allowed to play it. Okay, play it twice an hour, because if we play it 4 times an hour, if you play it once and you don't agree with it, first of all, that's just unbelievable.
That's weird.
It's in the dictionary.
Yes.
This is a long-running feud I had at any shop I've been at.
Yeah.
I remember Ron Gleason telling me, don't say, I think it might have been bitch on the air, right?
Right. Which is in the dictionary,
We come back, Jinx goes on this portion of Sports Radio 670 or 1160 or 820, I forget what it happened. It's brought to you by, Dakotas or something like that. And he goes, Mike, what do you got? I go, bitch. And then Jinx went, what is that? Because he didn't know I'd been in the hall with Gleason. And he heard me say, hey, look, we can bitch and moan or something like that. I went, bitch. Everything's fine. I worked the next day.
Classic stuff. Classic. All right, number 3.
Well, yeah, because they don't do it no more.
I know.
You can't say penis.
That's crazy.
What happens if the guy on the air's name is Jimmy Penis?
Exactly.
Right? Hey, I'm Jimmy. I can't say my name on the air because CBS or somebody else doesn't want me to. So I can only say it once an hour. Jimmy Penis.
The censor won't let me say my name.
Look, we're getting together next week. We forgot what we look like. But when we get together, we have some good laughs because we worked with people that would give us reasons not to say something, and then you say why, and they'd say, I don't know. It was a directive.
Yes, it's so true. By the way,
it's ridiculous.
There's some breaking news. Jimmy Penis has just changed his name to Jimmy Dick. All right, number 3. The biggest thing Mitch Trubisky needs to show this season is blank.
I'd like to see more drives or put 4 quarters together. He never put 4 quarters together. He'd always have a bad quarter last year. Not that he didn't recover. I'm giving him credit.
Right.
But how many quarterbacks do really have good good football game? You'll see a coach go, Deshaun Watson was 7-11 in the first quarter, but in the second quarter 1 for 6.
Yeah.
So I think I like Mitch. I think he works hard. I think that he's not going to. If they lose, it's not going to be because of him. It's going to be hard for me to believe if Khalil Mack could put another year. Everything happened so positive. Everything happened so fast. It seems like the other teams in the league got caught up in the Khalil Mack thing. And did he have great luck? At the same time, his good skill? Yes. Are those balls going to pop out of people's arms when he hits them this year? I mean, we had a ton of turnovers last year.
Correct.
And if you look at the Bears' history, throughout Bear history, even the Urlacher Super Bowl year, we dominated in turnovers and takeaways.
You got that right.
I mean, Peanut Hillman, to me, is one of the greatest D-backs who ever lived. And he'll never get credit. But he was the guy that invented the strip and all this other. I mean, they stripped before, but he just had an uncanny. He would actually look to do it and get it done.
It was incredible. Hey, by the way, did you say penis, Tillman?
No, that's peanuts. No. I can only say it on the Bear Barroom broadcast 4 times per minute.
That's right.
If I want to. We don't usually get dirty on this. We're classy guys. We got, Raldo's got kids.
Yeah, I got kids, and every time I play a show for my family members, it just so happens to be one of the shows where somebody lets out an F-bomb or something like that, and I don't want to listen to that, and I'm like, oh, let's listen to the Mike North show. It's clean. It's possible.
That's what they call me. No, it's not really what they call me. But you know what? I never got suspended, never got fined by the FCC, and yet you hear about me, and this will be in the movie and in the autobiography. We talked about it last week.
Right.
About the misconceptions, and there's been so many that's been fueled by liars.
Right.
Believe me.
Yes.
So it's going to be fun.
It is indeed going to be fun. All right, yeah. I think it is time to play that closing. This hour.
All right, listen.
Go ahead.
Before I go, before you go, you got things to do. 800. You're the best. 808. You're just trying to rest. 3419. Yes. You're exhausted from what happened.
I am.
It was a 6-month ordeal. 3 people had it rougher than Aldo. Christopher Columbus, because he had to discover America. Number 2. No, seriously, Aldo, congratulations, man. It had to be a blast.
It was.
1-800-808-3419 for free pick and info for the premier handicapping site in the country. It's the only site you'll ever need with expert handicappers like Johnny Anthony, Denny Macklin, Tony Sacco, and more. Vegas Scores and Odds on Twitter, VSAO. Follow me tonight. I also got a pickup on Vegas Scores and Odds. Give them a call. Once again, 1-800-808-3419. Follow us at VSAO. Aldo?
All right, Mike. Remember, follow Mike at North2North. That 2 is the number 2. And follow us on Twitter at Bears Bar.
Go through the whole schedule.
Yeah.
Name all the shows. I love when you do that.
Oh, my gosh. And let me remind people that Bears 100 Proof is on tomorrow. And on that show, we're going to have on a bunch of guests from different Bears Barroom shows to just kind of let people know what's going on in the Bears Barroom Radio Network. But if you want to make money, the show to listen to is Vegas Scores and Odds presents the Mike North Advantage, and it's also.
And how many other shows?
Oh my gosh, we got.
I Have a Stream.
I Have a Stream. We've got the Barfly Tailgate Show. We've got 2 fans in the stands. We've got. Oh my goodness.
I love 2 fans in the stands.
Oh my gosh, they had a wonderful debut.
Hey, where's Little Nicky?
Yeah, we got to. You know what? Little Nicky disappears every once in a while. So all points bulletin for Little Nicky Kurtz. Where are you, Nicky? We need you.
I love Little Nicky.
All right, remember. Bears at Bears Barroom on Twitter, at North2North on Twitter, and we'll talk to you next week.
So long, everybody.